I'm in North Central Pennsylvania today at the Keystone Central School District with the superintendent, Dr. Frank Redmond. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you're here and learning about all the great things that are happening in Keystone Central.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the survey results on the State of Ed report. One of the things that really jumped out kind of across the state was facilities. Let me ask you about what are some of the current issues that you're seeing with your facilities?
For instance, we're sitting in Central Mountain High School right now, and one of our HVAC systems is continually broken and needing repairs. My maintenance department says they're receiving 20 to 30 work requests per week. Replacing all of the HVAC in this building is about $11 million. These big cyclical replacements are what really, I think, KCSD, but other school districts too, have trouble affording those kind of things. It's not so easy to set aside that substantial amount of money and have the communities and the bargaining groups and all that sort of thing understand why we have such a large chunk of money that's just sitting in a bank somewhere.
Right. Well, an $11 million, I mean, that's just one, as you said, one building's AC system. I assume you have other needs, so you need more than 11 million when it really comes down to it if you're going to address kind of the continuing issue.
Absolutely. And I could go through each one of our 8 school buildings and talk about really significant needs that I believe we should be able to afford, but there's no way we can squeeze it into our budget.
Well, a perfect segue into lack of state funding. You know, when you look at what's coming down from the state aimed at facilities and it's not in place right now, obviously I think you've outlined the impact that it's having currently and into the future.
When I look at our budget overall, and this isn't specifically about facilities, this is kind of an overall budget picture, we are anticipating next year, based on the governor's proposed budget, receiving state funding increase of about $800,000. And then between federal and local increases, another $100,000. So a total increase in revenue of about a little less than $1 million. When we look at our expected expenditures, just our personnel budget, pay increases, insurance, PSERS, those sorts of things, that's a $3 million increase just by itself. There's such a small increase in revenue compared to the increase in costs.
So talk to me, I mean, you've kind of answered the question I was going to ask you about the major drivers in your budget next year that are going to increase costs, and you've certainly outlined strain on the budget. What's the solution here? What as a district leader and working with your board and your business manager, $900,000, if I hear you correctly, in revenue that you're kind of planning is going to come in, bigger expenses, what are you going to do?
It's kind of an all hands on deck, doing everything we can to see what programs and services we will have to reduce on. We're also looking at the potential for tax increases. As you know, the more that we increase taxes, the more resentment there is between the community and the school district.
Right.
They see us asking for more money, whereas it looks like we're doing kind of the same stuff. So it's sometimes hard to understand why we're asking for more money when the deliverables, if you will, may not be changing as dramatically as the tax bill.
What a great point of it's hard to see change, it's hard to see new programs and services when you're just trying to keep up with the escalation and the cost to operate what you currently have.
And I think this is not unique to Keystone Central School District, but especially in rural areas or low tax revenue areas, increasing the tax amount even as a fraction of the Act 1 index allows us to, which is 7.1 here, generates a fairly small amount of revenue. If we were to increase to the total capacity underneath the Act 1 index, we would only generate $2 million. Again, that's less than the increases in our costs.
One of the other areas, and I'm guessing that this is a budget pressure, but we want to talk a little bit about student mental health and what you're seeing. It's certainly come out in the survey this year that it's a huge issue impacting obviously not just the students, but the district as a whole. What are you seeing here on the ground at Keystone Central?
We're seeing increases in the number of students who are feeling in distress, feeling emotionally or socially dysregulated. We have a higher than the state average in Keystone Central of the students who respond in the survey that they feel that they are no good. And so we know that we have an increased need for our students to receive these services, where in a rural district in particular, it's harder to find those services.
So lack of service, obviously, lack of providers. What are you doing as a district specifically when you look at trying to identify students with these challenges?
We've started a universal screener for all of our students to check in periodically with them to see who needs these kind of supports and at what level they need those supports. I think for 3 years now, we've had a call for mental health support staffing, and we just can't find people to apply for the jobs.
One of the great challenges, I would think, of a predominantly rural school district, the largest geographic school district in the state. So that's got to bring with it a unique set of challenges.
It certainly does. And you think about students who have to travel to receive services, whether mental health services or even medical services. It's almost a guarantee that if a student needs a doctor's appointment of some sort, they're going to be gone from school for a day. And then you think about the parent impact as well. We're considered a high poverty district. And so you think about the parents who have to take time off from work, and that can become a challenge as well. So for many of our students, those needs go unmet.
Well, we've talked about budget pressures, we've talked about mental health and facilities. I want to make sure that we take a minute to talk about amazing things that are happening, because it is a great school district.
It really is.
And I know you guys are in so many different spaces, doing so many new things. What really jumps to top of mind as you sit here today in terms of some of the exciting things happening now and on the horizon at Keystone Central?
You know, there's so many great things that are happening. It's hard to identify which things jumps to the top. I'll highlight a couple of things.
Please.
Our Career and Technical Education Center, which is part of our school district rather than having a standalone CTC, it's part of Keystone Central School District. We have growing numbers. Every year we're seeing fantastic growth across the spectrum. Our students, through Skills USA, the program, the competition that happens every spring and into the summer, last year we had a national champion. We have some really great successes in our career and technical education program. We're looking at lots of opportunities to find the pathways that our students are interested and passionate about, and aligning what we do to match those things that we know our kids in our community need.
Well, great things happening here at Keystone Central. Appreciate all the insights on some of the challenges as well. Good to see you.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you very much for coming to see us.
Absolutely. For more information on the State of Education report, please visit psba.org.